What is up, guys? Delboy here. So Joseph Parker is going to be making his return on the 15th of December at the Horncastle Arena in Christchurch, New Zealand. Now, I watched a video by Boxing Squared, who in my opinion is the best heavyweight boxing channel on YouTube, but he was talking about Joseph Parker's return. He was talking about the card in general, and it's got me thinking about potential opponents for Joseph Parker. I feel this comeback is, it's quite interesting. I think Parker, after his two defeats to Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte, I feel there may be a tinge of regret in there. In the Joshua fight, a lot of people said, he didn't really leave it all in the ring. He didn't take enough risks. And in the Dillian Whyte fight, again, people were saying he left it too late. He should have stepped on the gas a lot earlier. He should have been trying to get the knockout a lot earlier. And maybe there's an element of regret involving both of those fights for Joseph Parker. And maybe that has fueled him to really make another run to the top of the division. It's going to be interesting to see how those two fights affected him, whether it be in a negative way or a positive way. Maybe Joseph Parker has learned from it and he's going to be a better fighter because of it, but we will see. Now, in terms of comeback opponents, I'm going to start with what I feel is a realistic option, and that is Lucas Browne. I think down under, you'd imagine that fight would do good business. A New Zealander versus an Australian, there's a built-in rivalry. Both guys are well known in that part of the world. And as comeback opponents go, it's not the worst sort of level of opponent out there, and ultimately, in my opinion, it is a winnable fight for Joseph Parker. It's a fight he should win. So I think Lucas Browne is a realistic option, but I feel other guys out there could also be good options. One guy who I feel could be a potential opponent, and somebody who would make sense in my opinion, is actually Robert Helenius. Now, Robert Helenius is a guy who's never really fulfilled his sort of early career potential. He's had injuries, he's had inactivity problems, he's had promotional issues, and it's never really panned out for him. But he's a big, tall heavyweight, and he is coming off one of the most impressive wins in his career in recent years over Erkan. He beat Erkan by knockout, and that has put his name back out there for maybe a big fight. And I feel Robert Helenius could be a good comeback opponent for Joseph Parker. Like I say, Helenius, to me, he's not the fighter he was on the come-up. I feel injuries have really taken their toll, and it has affected him. To me, he's a very beatable fighter, a questionable gas tank, a questionable chin. I feel Robert Helenius, despite that win over Erkan, he is there for the taking, and, not only that, I think stylistically it's a good fight for Joseph Parker. It gives him something to work with, a taller guy to kind of to practice on. It's a good fight to prepare him for fights against the bigger guys in the division. Obviously Parker has already fought Joshua, but he never really fared too well. Maybe somebody like a Robert Helenius would be a good comeback opponent for him. I think that fight could make sense actually. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Robert Helenius fight. I think that would be a good option for Joseph Parker. Failing Robert Helenius, failing Lucas Browne, maybe even somebody like Marius Wack. Now, Marius Wack, again, a big, tall guy, a durable guy, good chin, but, pretty limited. But he's a guy who can take Joseph Parker some rounds, a guy who I think Joseph Parker can outbox, and a guy who Joseph Parker can maybe try some new things against. Joseph Parker, he is light years ahead of Marius Wack in terms of skills. That's a fight he should win relatively easily, in my opinion, especially this version of Marius Wack. But it depends on what Joseph Parker's team wants. Do they want a comeback opponent where he's going to sort of test Joseph Parker, or do they want a guy who they can blow out and it gives Joseph Parker some hype again? It depends what they want to do. I personally would like to see them fight somebody who's durable, somebody who's going to actually come to fight and give it a go, which is why guys like Lucas Browne, Robert Helenius, Marius Wack, to me these are the type of guys Joseph Parker should be aiming for. Marius Wack, again, like I say, winnable fight, a guy who shouldn't give Joseph Parker too many problems. but he's a guy who can take him some rounds, and, you know, he's got a couple of different traits. You know, he's a tall guy with a good chin. So, you know, Marius Wack, again, somebody like that would be ideal in my opinion. But I've got a feeling, you know, they're going to go for a soft touch. I feel we're going to get somebody like Caio Fujimoto, the Japanese heavyweight. You know, he's always been highly ranked in the WBC. I think he's actually slipped outside the top 15 rankings now in the WBC, but historically he's always been ranked quite highly for a guy who's not actually beaten anybody. But, you know, I think that's the type of opponent you're going to get. I would like to see Joseph Parker in there with somebody who can test him, somebody who can take him some rounds, but ultimately still a beatable guy. That's why I'm saying guys like Helenius, Lucas Brown, Marius Wack, you know, these are the type of guys I wouldn't mind seeing. Even somebody like an Arthur Spilker, you know, again, winnable fights. But yeah, I feel we're going to get a cream puff. And by the way, I'm not saying that is necessarily the wrong way to go, but I'm just saying I would prefer somebody who can test him. But maybe they want to try and rebuild his confidence by getting a couple of quick KOs. Maybe that's the route they want to go down. We will see. But I'm intrigued about the comeback of Joseph Parker. I still think he has something to offer in the heavyweight division, I do. But I feel he needs to make changes in his camp. But I'm not sure whether he's going to do that. But Joseph Parker still intrigues me. What do you guys think? Peace.